G'day guys, this is Big T. So I've got the 200 Series LandCruiser in the workshop. So we're going to be fitting a set of Rockarmor rock sliders to the vehicle. So I've just taken off the factory steps there, just so I can get access to all my points. I've just unwrapped my step and I've got my fitting kit all laid out on the table. So just come over and have a look. Okay, so I've got the step here. As you see, we've got a really nice checker plate finish on the top. Folds underneath the seal, just to protect the vehicle from any stone chips or anything coming up from underneath. The great thing with the Rockarmor rock sliders is that they are airbag compatible. So you see the airbag crumble zones there? That's the only ones in Australia that are patented for the 200 Series LandCruiser. So that's going to give you that extra protection. So we've got the front bracket and the rear bracket there. And in the fitting kit, you're going to see these rods with the doubles. So these are for the front mounting points, as so. There's a little slot in the chassis. So I'm going to feed those through and pick up those 2 points behind there. And on the front bracket, so it's already threaded in the chassis. Some vehicles are not threaded, so you have these little rods that I'll be feeding through and you can pick up that point. On the rear, we'll just go through. There's a brake line there that we need to remove. Just a couple of bolts, remove them so we can get our step into place. And most of the 200 series are already threaded in the chassis, but if they're not, there's these rods that you can feed through the chassis and just pick up your mounting points. So I'm going to go ahead now, get my vehicle ready, put my step into place, and we'll get it up. Okay, so I've got the step ready to go into place. Just a few things about the Rockarmor rock sliders is you'll see that Rockarmor runs a dual rail tube system and braced all the way along. So that's going to give you that extra protection. Wherever you're going off-road, whatever you kick up underneath the seal, it's going to protect that vehicle and it's not going to kick up into the panel. Now the front section there, you'll see it's modular. So you just remove these two 13mm bolts here and you can take off that front section and then you can add your brush bar. So it's compatible with nearly every vehicle out there in the market. So I've got my step there, so you'll see on the chassis, just this point here, I'm going to be picking up the top and the bottom for the rear on the front bracket. And this point here, it's already threaded in the chassis. I'm just going to put that in place there. Just at the back mounting points, you'll see I've got the handbrake line there. And there's a couple of 12mm, just a couple of 12mm just in the way there. So just remove those 12mm. One on the bottom, and there's one on the top. So just lift that out of the way, and then our step's just going to sit in place there. Okay, so I just got some WD-40. I'm going to spray all my mounting points just to clean them out from any gunk that's in there, just to let the bolts go in a lot easier. So I've got the step in place. So to start, I'm just going to mount my front bracket. That's already threaded in the chassis. It's going to give me a nice point, and that will hold the step while I lift the back into place. So that's going to stand there as so, and that's going to allow me to work on the back, and I can lift that into place as so and get into my mounting points. So I've got one of the front bolts in, so that's holding my step in place there. And I've got one of the bolts in the rear. So now I've just got to reattach the brake lines, the handbrake lines there. So you'll see a little slot out on the front and one at the back, and just put your bolts back in. So do that for the top and the bottom. So just put everything in hand tight, and then I'll get to the front bracket. See how that's sitting nice and level there? Okay, so I've put all the bolts in the back there. So I've got 4 mounting points. So I've got my 2 handbrake lines back in, and then I've got a point on the bottom and the point on the top. So just do all those hand tight, and then we're going to go through and put the plate in the front. Now some vehicles do not have the threads in the chassis. So in that instance, we'll be feeding the rods through these gaps in the chassis and picking them up. Just a little tip, I'm just about to feed the my plate through the chassis. So just get your bolts and just run them through the plate, just so they go all the way through, nice and smooth, just so it doesn't give us a hassle when we're feeding it in. Sometimes you might get a bit of powder coat or something caught in it. So you've got this front point on the chassis, so I'm just feeding that through, and I'm picking up my 2 mounting points here at the back. Now you've got that gap in the chassis there, which makes it a little bit easier. You can grab that with your finger so you can adjust it up or down. Okay, so I fitted the plate through and I picked up my 2 points there. So it is a little bit fiddly. You just need to lift the step up a bit and till the bolt catches. So now just level out your step. That's nice and level there. So there's a 13 on the front. Just go through, tighten them all up. 16 mil on these rear ones. Just going to go through, tighten everything up, and the step's done. That's how easy it is.